This is the story of two maidens. In a small village there were two maidens. One maiden was the daughter of a rich family. She was very beautiful, but she was also idle and careless, and she hated to work. The other maiden came from a very poor family, and she worked as a servant maid in the house where the rich girl lived. She was also pretty, but she had a very different personality from the rich girl. The servant maid was very industrious. She was always working, she was always moving. She tried very hard from morning to night every day. Sometimes in those days, young girls were required to spin flax into thread. Now flax is some long kind of grass. And when you spin flax, you spin it into a nice thread. Now when they were spinning flax, these two girls were very different. The rich girl could not be bothered if there was some knot in the flax. So she would simply break the thread and throw down a handful of flax onto the floor. The servant maid, on the other hand, would sweep up the flax that was on the floor, collect it, and carry it back to her room. And late at night, she would very, very carefully untie the knots and disentangle the flax. Then she would carefully spin the flax into thread, weave the thread into cloth, and sew the cloth into a beautiful dress. It took a long, long time because she was tired after work every night. But after a long time, she was able to make a beautiful new dress for herself. Now, at this time, the rich girl was engaged to marry. The young man she was engaged to took her on a walk one day. The young girl and the boy were walking in the park, and the rich girl looked and said, "Ah, look, there's my little servant maid, and look at her. She thinks she's so beautiful in that dress, but actually that dress is my leavings." The young man looked at her and said, "That dress is your leavings? What do you mean? I don't understand." And she laughed again. Whoa! She collected all the flax that I threw down on the floor, and she spun that into thread, and then she made her a dress. But that dress is just a garbage dress. It's just my leavings. Now, the young man started to think. Here were two young maidens. They were both young maidens, but they were so different. He was engaged to marry the beautiful, rich girl, but he thought, she is very wasteful. She doesn't like to work, and she likes to have new clothes and spend lots of money. But then there's the servant maid. She doesn't ask for anything. She works hard every day, and she's happy with what she has from her hard work. And he thought and he thought. And by degrees, he fell out of love with the rich girl. Now, the rich girl was very sad. Why doesn't he come to see me? Why did he break off the engagement? What happened? So the rich girl wrote a letter. She called her servant maid. "Please take this letter to the young man." The servant maid took the letter to the young man, but he never read it because he got married to the young servant girl. And they lived happily ever after. The end.